Hello, everyone. Welcome to the 9th stop of the Great Canadian Farm Tour. My name is Colleen. I am a teacher working for Agriculture in the Classroom Canada, and I've been having so much fun taking you on these virtual farm tours throughout Canadian Agriculture Literacy Month. This week, we are back in Canada's East Coast, and we are in New Brunswick, where we are going to visit an egg farm and learn all about eggs and raising chickens. I would love to see where everyone is joining us from today, so please feel free to put it in the live chat. You can also use the live chat to ask any questions that you have throughout the tour. We will answer a few throughout and also during our question and answer period at the end. Don't forget that all of our farm tours are being recorded, so if you've missed any, you can always go back and watch them. All you have to do is go to Agriculture in the Classroom Canada's YouTube page, and they will all be found there. Okay, let's see where some of you are joining us from today. Okay, we have a class from Ontario. You're joining us bright and early. Thank you. In Woodstock, New Brunswick. A grade 5 class, Mrs. Steeper's class. Hello. A Saskatchewan grade 4 class. Here we go. Here's our New Brunswick folks. Some Nova Scotia. Winnipeg, Manitoba. And again, a grade 5 class in New Brunswick. So thank you all for joining us from across Canada. I know it's early for some of you. We can't wait to get started on this tour. Agriculture in the Classroom Canada is so excited to be hosting this in partnership with Agriculture in the Classroom New Brunswick. And now I'm so excited to introduce you to my co-host today, Agriculture in the Classroom New Brunswick's manager, Charlotte. Welcome, Charlotte.
Hello, welcome everyone. We are so grateful to be here today at Coburn Farms. So I just want to take this time to acknowledge the territory in which we gather is the ancestral homeland of the Wolastoqey, Mi'kmaq, and Passamaquoddy peoples. We strive for respectful relationships with all the peoples of this province as we search for collective healing, true reconciliation, and honor this beautiful land together.
Thank you, Charlotte. So there are many different types of farms in New Brunswick, and today we're going to be visiting a farm that produces eggs. These types of farms are important because eggs provide us humans with so many nutrients that help us to grow healthy and strong.
I am so excited for you to meet our egg farmer today, David Coburn. He is going to teach us all about egg farming, and we want to welcome you, David. Hello.
Good morning, everybody.
Well, here's the news about David. He is a 6th-generation farmer, and he farms with his sons, who are 7th-generation farmers. Now, David grew up right here on Keswick Ridge, and when he was a boy, he used to collect thousands of eggs after school with his brothers and sisters. So now you can see behind him, he actually has a conveyor belt that collects his eggs. And he has a mechanized barn. One of the first ones in New Brunswick from 1989 was when he started having a mechanized barn. And he has a very diverse farm. If you're from the Fredericton area, you might know Coburn cider. So there is great cider here on the farm. And he even has a farm store where people can come in the community and buy fresh eggs, some fresh ciders, syrups, and lots of treats. David, your farm is incredible.
Oh, thank you. It's a interesting process. Every day is a challenge.
Yeah, I bet. And we cannot wait to learn more about it from you. But before we begin, I just want to remind our participants of some of the components of the Great Canadian Farm Tour. So we hope that you have your Great Canadian Farm Tour activity book and your passport ready and in front of you. Make sure you keep an eye out for today's mystery word. So it'll be appearing in the top left corner of the screen at some point during the tour, and you will write this down in your passport. Also, we've received some amazing entries to our Great Canadian Farm Tour passport. You can see in the pictures here. So thank you, teachers, for entering. It's so fun to see you all participating. And all you have to do to enter is take a photo of your class participating in the Great Canadian Farm Tour and just make sure that you use the hashtag GCFT22 contest for a chance to win a prize pack for your classroom. Okay, time to start the tour.
So,
All right.
good morning. Sorry.
Morning. Where are we going to start the tour today?
Well, we're going to start right in the barn with the birds. This is a fully enriched barn, so the chickens all live in condos.
Hey, David.
Yes?
We're just getting a bit of feedback. We're going to take you out of the stream for 1 second, and maybe that'll fix it. Okay. Let's try that again.
So, we're inside our chicken barn. This barn was built in 2018, and it's a fully enriched barn that holds 35,000 chickens.
Wow.
The chickens live in condos, so there's actually 36 birds living in a unit. And in this unit, we've got perches that they can stand on. There's a red scratch pad over here that they can do their scratching and their dust bathing activities. We have 4 water cups, and then down in the dark area, this is their nesting area. And this is where they go to lay their eggs. And that's what's going on this time of day, is the birds stay in the nesting area, lay their eggs, and then the eggs come out onto egg belts and travel out through to the farm packer that we'll talk about shortly. So these 35,000 chickens, they drink about 7,200 liters of water every day on average. That can go up by 30 or 40% on a hot summer day, just like we drink more water on a hot day. And they drink 3,600, 3,700 kilos of feed a day. So feed is very important to give them everything that they need to make their egg. Right now, we're producing about 2,700 dozen eggs a day. And we'll talk about those when they go out to the egg packer. But so the chickens, we keep the temperature in here around 25 degrees Celsius, so it's nice and warm where they are. There's 12 fans that do the ventilation and take the air out for them. There's 24 winter fans and 12 big summer fans. So we try and keep it as comfortable as we can in the barn. The other thing we have is in-system lighting. So there's lighting units in each of the housing units to give every bird the perfect light. And you'll notice it's kind of red, so the chickens see a red spectrum, and that's what we're giving the birds.
That's incredible, David. It looks so nice and neat and clean in there. I just want to remind all of the students that they can put questions in the chat. But first of all, David, I have a question for you. Where does your feed come from?
So we actually, as of last year, we grow the majority of the feed for our chickens. So we're growing about 600 acres of corn, oats, and soybeans. And we take the corn and dry it and store it. And then we mill the feed. So we make feed fresh for our chickens 2 times a week. And so we'll make it's a little over 20 tons of feed every week for the chickens.
Okay, wow, that's a lot of feed. We have some questions here from the chat, so let me ask one. So Lene was wondering if you have roosters too.
Actually, we do. We keep about 14 roosters in here. We saw one earlier. I don't see them right now, but they're in here to help keep the birds happy. When a rooster crows, there'll be a coo go down over the birds, and it just keeps them company.
Okay. We actually have time for another one here. So how many eggs do you get a day?
So we peak about 98, 97, 98% production, and we'll be up over 3,000 eggs a day. or 32,000 eggs a day. Right now it's about 2,700 dozen eggs per day, which there's 12 eggs in a dozen.
Right. So you said you had 35,000 chickens, so you get about
Right.
32,000 eggs every day.
33,000 at peak production. Yeah.
Right. So a chicken might not lay an egg every day, but that's what it tries to do. Okay, so it's time for our first brain break. So students, make sure you have your activity book ready so you can record the answer to your brain break question.
Brain break. Did you know? The color of an egg yolk can be different shades of yellow, and this depends on what the chicken eats. For example, if a chicken eats more green plants, it equals a yellow-orange yolk. If they eat more corn-based feeds, it equals a dark yellow yolk. If they eat wheat-based feeds, it equals a pale yellow yolk. Thanks for learning with us.
Now, David, would you say that we have a dark yellow yolk for your eggs?
Yes, so we feed a corn-soya diet, which they're the two main ingredients in our diet. So when you feed a chicken corn, you get a rich dark yellow yolk. And if we were in Western Canada, they feed more wheat to their birds, so their yolks would be a paler yellow.
Now, I see you've moved out of the barn. Where have you moved to?
So we moved out to our egg packing room, and we collect eggs every morning. And we've got a machine here that does this for it. And so the eggs all come up to the front of the barn. They come out onto a conveyor, and then they go through this farm packing machine. And we're just taking the full stacks of eggs off the machine here right now. These men are collecting the eggs. So they're standing here, and besides taking the stacks off, they're watching for any egg that is cracked or broken or excessively dirty, we throw away. And that's what they're looking for. So we're just going to take a second to follow the eggs through. And they're going down. And then they drop into the cups and they're put right into the egg trays.
Wow, they're moving pretty quick.
And they move pretty quick. And then this machine over here will stack the eggs. And out comes a stack of eggs. So if we were a little bigger farm, we could put a robot on here. And the robot would take the stacks of eggs off and put onto the pallet. And we're not that big of a farm, so we actually do that ourselves. So one thing I should point out is that the boys and girls, when you go to the supermarket and bring home a dozen eggs, in the vast majority of the time, you're the first person that ever touches that egg. And because the eggs travel all the way from the chicken right through to the supermarket, all handled by machines. And
Wow.
which is a long ways from when I grew up as a boy.
So you used to pick everyone up by your hand?
So when I was a child, 10, 11 years old, every day after school, I had to gather the eggs from about 3,000 birds. And so I learned a lot of math with that, because each one of these trays is 5 by 6 eggs. And there's 6 trays to a pallet. So there's 180 eggs, or 15 dozen eggs on a stack of eggs. So I learned math in multiples of 180 for every stack that we've got. And so when you're working with egg farming, you know, there's lots of math lessons, right?
That's incredible. Now it is time for our second brain break. I want you to listen closely to record the correct answer in your activity book.
Brain break. Did you know? It's important to store eggs in the fridge in the container that they come in. Also, eggs should be stored in the middle of the fridge, not on the fridge door. Thanks for learning with us.
Okay, and the reason you should store eggs in the middle of the fridge is because that's where the temperature stays the most constant. If you keep them on the door, you're opening and closing it a lot, and so the temperature can change. Oh, what's that? Today's mystery word. So today's mystery word is Canada's. So we're in New Brunswick today. So in your passport, you're going to write down this word beside the province of New Brunswick, and you can also add it to your mystery sentence below. Okay, David, where are you going to show us next?
So just like we store our eggs in our fridge at home, we store our eggs in a big fridge here on the farm. And this is our cold room. So we hold the eggs about 11 to 12 degrees Celsius. And once a week, the truck comes and picks up these pallets of eggs. And so we talked a few minutes ago about 180 eggs or 15 dozen eggs to a stack. Each one of these pallets, when it's full, is 60 stacks of eggs. So it's about 9,000 eggs.
Wow.
And so we'll ship, tomorrow he'll pick up probably about 20 pallets of eggs to go to the egg grading station. And so that the egg grading station will take those eggs and they wash them and they inspect them to make sure that there's nothing wrong with the egg. And then they pack them into cartons to go out to the supermarkets. And so our egg grading station that our eggs go to is Maritime Pride Eggs in Amherst, Nova Scotia. And they grade the eggs from about 1 million chickens at the Maritime Pride plant. And we ship to the Sobeys, the superstores, Costco, and Walmart here in New Brunswick. And so our eggs will come back to the local supermarkets, and then the next week they'll come and pick the eggs up and do it all over again. So
Okay, so how long does it take, do you think, to get an egg from your farm into the Walmart or Costco?
So they will pick the eggs up on, we pick up here about dinner time on Wednesday. So they will be into Amherst by 4:30, 5 o'clock in the afternoon. They get unloaded and go into a holding cold room. They'll be graded on Thursday morning, and the finished eggs go into another cold room. They're loaded out onto trucks Thursday night, and they will be delivered to the Walmarts or the Costco's Friday morning.
Wow.
And eggs, very high turnover.
For sure.
So.
Charlotte, I just saw you got delivered something. Are you going to show us what you got?
I am. Guys, this is an egg without its shell. So you can see, wouldn't this be a fun little fidget toy for the classroom? But it's an egg without its shell. Look at how cool that looks. Do you guys see it?
Soft shell, yeah. You wouldn't want to break that.
No, I would
Very
not.
delicate.
It's amazing.
Okay, we're going to ask you some questions here, David. I just want to reiterate, so there's lots of questions about how many eggs you get a day. So he gets about 32,000 eggs every day from his chickens. Okay, there's also lots of questions about the red lights in the barn, David. So what do you mean that the chickens see on a red spectrum from a grade 4 or 5 class?
They just see the red light. That's their natural light that they look at. And so that's where we keep the lighting for them to make them the most comfortable and in their environment. And the whole goal on raising livestock on a farm is to provide the best environment for the chicken or the cow, that we can. And so a lot of research has gone into this, and so we try and keep the birds calm. We walk our barn twice a day to inspect the birds to make sure everything's all right. And the rest of that, they're on their own. They get fed about 5 times a day. And so we make sure that they have all the feed that they need. The manure droppings, they go down onto manure belts. And in the wintertime, we will clean those belts, take the manure out of the barn 3 times a week through the winter months.
Okay, so
that way the smell's not too bad in the barn.
Yeah. So the red lights help keep the chickens comfortable, and it sounds like you do lots to make sure the chickens are comfortable. Okay.
All right, let's see what our next question is. Okay, this is from Emily Gallant, and it says, do you have only one type of chicken or all different types?
No, we only have one breed of chickens here at a time. And because you have to manage every breed a little bit different. And so this is a breed called Lohman that we have. They're a white leghorn, so they're producing a white egg. A few years ago, we had brown birds, and we produced brown birds, brown eggs for the market.
All right. Yeah, we actually visited a chicken farm in BC, and they had brown chickens and brown eggs. So
Yep.
now, students, we can see that white chickens produce white eggs. Okay. Wally wants to know if you have any other animals on your farm.
Yes, actually, we have a small beef herd, and right now we actually had a new calf born this morning. We're expecting 9 calves here, and so we've had 4 born so far in the last 10 days.
Exciting. Lots of little babies.
All right, this question says, how many chickens did your farm start with? Or when did your farm start having chickens? Because this is your 6th generation. So there has been a farm here for a very long time.
Yeah, so I actually have a museum here on the farm. And one of the things in that museum was my grandmother back in 1928. She had the first incubator in our community, and she could hatch 60 eggs. And so she raised at the time 300 or 400 birds in the 1930s. And that gradually grew up to the 1950s, early 60s. We got to about 3,000 birds. And they were dual purpose birds, so they were meat and eggs both. And then in 1967, we went to Canada's centennial year. We went to 10,000 birds. And then we went to 25,000 birds in the 80s. And then we've increased over the last, with this new barn, we're up with about 35,000 birds in this barn.
Wow. So you've grown lots over the years.
Yes.
Okay, everyone, it's time for our job spotlight now, where we're going to learn about an exciting career in agriculture.
Job Spotlight, powered by Think Ag.
Chefs prepare delicious recipes using food grown on Canadian farms. What do chefs do? I create and test recipes to decide the best way to cook food and serve dishes. I plan menus and make sure the kitchen is fully stocked with all the ingredients. I make sure the kitchen and its equipment is clean and ready to use.
Okay, so chefs use lots of eggs when they cook, especially in baked goods and when they're cooking people breakfast. We've now come to the last section of the farm tour. We get to ask Farmer David lots of questions, so there's so many good ones coming in here. The first one we're going to ask is, do you grow eggs to chicks?
No. We the eggs are our new chickens. Actually, we got a flock in a pullet barn right now. We're just coming up on flock change. So the day-old chicks go into what's called a pullet barn, and they're raised there till they're 19 weeks of age. So they're just ready to start laying eggs when we move them into our barn.
Okay, so how do you know that your eggs don't have chicks in them?
Oh, you have to have a fertilized egg to have an egg in there, and we don't have enough the roosters for that, so that's how we know.
Yeah. Okay, awesome. Thank you.
Okay, how old can your chickens get?
So we keep our chickens for a year, so they're 19 weeks of age when they come in, and then we keep them for 1 year. And then we're empty for about a week to 10 days, and then we start all over again. So they're 52, so they're about 72 weeks of age is their life. The amount, yeah.
Okay, so this class is wondering if many eggs get broken when they are packaged.
Unfortunately, yes, they do. We can show you a few right there. So when we collect eggs, anything that coming out of the barn that is cracked or broken, as I mentioned, we throw away. And this fabulous machine that we have that we pack the eggs in, it some days it doesn't work as well as others, and it can break a lot of eggs in a hurry. And so that's one of the things that we watch. You might also, so we've got cameras inside on the egg elevators, so we're watching the those and make sure that everything works well. And but yes, as you all know, you handle an egg, you can get broken.
We had a couple break this morning when we were setting things up, so we got to see that firsthand. So Ethan wants to know, how many workers do you have?
So we there's 5 of us work full time on the farm, and in the chicken barn and with the other aspects of our operation. As mentioned, we have an apple cider processing plant, and we have our farm store. We have the feed mill. The other thing I haven't mentioned is we take all of the chicken manure from the chickens, and we make that with straw and sawdust, and we make compost. And the compost, we either use it here on the farm, or we sell that to home gardeners in the springtime for their vegetable gardens.
Sounds like a busy lifestyle. You have a lot going on your farm.
Yeah, we were for the last 30 years, we haven't had to buy chemical fertilizer. We were able to use our compost in our farming operation, and that's say buying chemical fertilizer. Yeah. Now that we have the grain farm, that kind of changed. So.
Right. Okay, our next question here. Danielle wants to know how many eggs you eat a day.
I can eat 3 or 4 eggs at a time, if depending on how hungry I am.
Yeah.
I average at least a dozen eggs a week.
All right. And what's your favorite way to eat them, David?
Soft poached is the best way to eat an egg.
Okay.
Okay. The next one says, do the chickens go outside?
No. These chickens all stay inside. And as I mentioned, in the summertime, we have what's called tunnel ventilation. So on those hot summer days, we have big air inlets on the north end of the barn, and we got big exhaust fans on the south, so we can actually keep it cooler inside the barn than it is outdoors.
It's a pretty comfortable existence for those chickens, I have to say. They get air and they get special light just for them. They're pretty happy.
Yeah, in all their little condos. Okay, so why do some countries not have eggs in a fridge?
That's more to do with technology, and a lot of countries. I visited Africa a number of years ago, and they didn't, out in the countryside, they didn't even have the electricity out there, so they weren't able to keep eggs refrigerated. And you can actually leave eggs out on the counter if the eggs aren't washed. For example, we take eggs right from our chicken barn up to the house, so those eggs can actually sit out on the counter. And but if they've been washed, then they need to be refrigerated.
Right. So when we buy our eggs from the grocery store, we definitely have to keep them in the fridge because we know that they've been washed.
Exactly.
Okay.
All right. The next one says, how are the eggs cleaned?
Oh, they just go through a washer where water jets are sprayed on them, and then there's rollers there, so they rotate around, and then it takes them off, and then there's a big air dryer to dry the eggs off.
So Emma wants to know how long it takes a chicken to have an egg.
So they start forming, so they lay their eggs, as I already mentioned earlier, every morning. And so about 2 o'clock in the afternoon, they start the process of working on tomorrow's egg. And it takes about 16, 18 hours to finish that egg off.
Wow.
And,
so most of their life, they're kind of forming an egg or laying an egg.
That's right. So we try and keep our activities to a minimum inside the poultry unit in the afternoon, because that's when they're they're working on tomorrow's egg.
Right. And when you go in the barn, it kind of wakes them up and they're moving around a lot.
That's right.
All right. Now, this question is, do chickens ever fight?
Oh, not as much as you think. Sometimes they will play. We actually have a camera on a unit and watching them, and we don't see them fight. They'll play around with each other, just like we all do too, right, with our friends. And so no, not as a rule.
Have you heard of the term pecking order before?
Oh yes, yep. That's the
Where's
pecking
that
order
from?
came out of the chicken barn, and so yes, you will get a dominant bird. So as we mentioned, we got 36 birds in this condo unit. We would not take a bird out of one unit and put her into another unit, because once they get their social structures established, you don't want to upset that, because you just change the pecking order when you put that bird into another condo.
So interesting.
Okay, so this question is asking, what bedding do the chickens need, or do they have any bedding in their cages?
So we have, they're on wire coated floors, and then in the nesting area where they go to lay their eggs, and so they're actually squatting down, it's plastic straw, and it's actually yellow to make it look like straw, so it's more comfortable for the bird when she lays down to lay her egg. And then you also notice earlier in the video shot, one of the birds doing her dust bathing on the scratch pad, and they will lay on that plastic scratch pad. But a lot of the time, they actually spend their time up standing on the perch, and the perch is designed, so they can wrap their toenails or their toes around it, and so that's where they're most comfortable, is standing.
Okay, so they like resting on the perch a lot. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, the next question says, what did you have to study to learn how to be an egg farmer?
I went to agricultural school, and then of course grew up on a farm, and it's so it's a little book knowledge and a little everyday knowledge, and making mistakes. I've made lots of mistakes over my time, and try not to make the same one twice. And but at the end of the day, it's about paying attention to the bird and her needs. And if you meet her needs, she'll do her job for you, and that's really what it's about.
So you just need to make them happy. Okay, we have a question here from Anthony. What do you do when chickens get sick?
Oh, we've always tried to keep a hospital cage where we can move a bird into it and give her a little extra special care. And we haven't had to do that in this barn. It hasn't really been an issue. That was in our older barns. And sometimes we have to bring the vet in to take a look at our birds. And we're taking extra special caution right now. Some of you might have heard that there's a disease called avian influenza, and it's going through Atlantic Canada right now, and so we have to really keep our biosecurity up and try and provide the best care that we can for our chickens.
You can see I have a really pretty blue suit, and that is part of the protocols for being in the barn. You have to be protected. And I know, David, you wash your feet and do certain things to make sure that you keep clean and keep the birds healthy, correct?
Yeah, like the footwear I wore into the barn, that gets changed in our entryway, and I've got a pair of boots that I just wear in the chicken barn. So normally we don't allow people in. We're doing this today because this is a pretty special exercise, and we have to record who comes into our barn when they come in, and then we have inspectors come to make sure that we're actually doing our job. And one of our worries with chickens, if I was a dairy farmer, and I had a sick dairy cow, I can call the vet and treat the sick cow. We end up with a sick flock. And the the mortality rate with this avian influenza is about 90% within 5 days. So we don't want that. We don't need that. So.
Okay, so the next question comes from Rhett, and it says, what time do the chickens wake up?
So they start their day about 4:30 in the morning. The lights come on, and within half an hour of that, they get their first feeding of the day. And then about an hour or so later, they start to lay their eggs. And so the eggs are out and ready for us, and we start the egg collection at 8 o'clock in the morning.
So you don't get up at 4:30 with the chickens?
No, we don't have to get up with the chickens. Although it is interesting if you are in, and same thing to watch them go to bed. They will go to their perches, and they have their spot on their perches, and they go through a ritual. The lights in the barn with the computer controlling them, so they have dawn and dusk. So we'll have our sunset at the end of the day, and that's when the birds know that they need to go to perch, and it's very interesting to watch.
Okay, David. So I have one last question for you, and I would like to know, do you enjoy being a farmer, and what's your favorite part of being a farmer?
Oh, I love being a farmer. This is not an occupation that you just do. You have to love it. Can't answer what the best part of it is. I guess I'd have to say working with my family. This is my older brother here is one of these guys gathering eggs. He and I have farmed together for over 40 years. Farming with my two sons. They're slowly transitioning into the leadership roles on the farm, and I'm having to step back. I'm very proud that I'm a sixth generation, going to seventh generation. I got a grandson who is 4 years old. He's generation 8, and he always wants to know what's going on his farm, and that's what it's about.
Yeah, that's amazing. It's so nice to hear that it's such a family, generational farm that you have. Sorry we didn't get to everyone's questions in the chat. There were so many amazing ones, but we hope you learned lots from David today.
And David, we just want to thank you so much for having us at the farm. It was a great experience. You showed us a lot, and we hope to see it again sometime.
Oh, thank you. Enjoyed doing it.
And Charlotte, I want to thank you for bringing me and everyone else on the Great Canadian Farm Tour to New Brunswick today. It was so nice to see a chicken farm in New Brunswick.
Oh, it was our pleasure, and we hope to see some visitors in New Brunswick. So we have lots of beautiful things here, and Colleen, you are welcome anytime.
Sounds good. Thanks, Charlotte. Okay, everyone, thank you for joining us on our 9th stop on the Great Canadian Farm Tour. Our next tour is going to be this Thursday. We're going to be traveling to Prince Edward Island, where we'll see a pork farm. So we're going to learn all about pigs. As a final reminder to teachers, don't forget about our social media contest, and students, don't forget about today's mystery word. It's up on the screen one last time as a reminder. Today's word is Canada's. So teachers, all you have to do to enter the contest is use the hashtag GCFT22 contest, and the winners will be announced in the middle of April, and you will have a chance to win a prize pack for your classroom. Okay, we will see you all on Thursday on Prince Edward Island. Bye.